Motrin or Aleve if I have a definite improvement in all of my symptoms, and I've gone 10 days from my onset of symptoms. I can come out of isolation. Quarantine's a little different. Folks that are quarantined for 14 days, and it's a hard and fast number. One thing we have, I don't know who all is listening to this, but we've come across a whole bunch with our contact tracing. There's a lot of thought that, hey, well, I'll just go get tested. That way I can come out of quarantine. Doesn't work that way, because you could still develop symptoms all the way out till day 14. You could still become positive all the way out till day 14. So that quarantine is it's 14 days regardless of getting tested. If you are a healthcare worker, there are some things that you can do to shorten that time period, but it means getting tested twice and going through extraordinary hoops going back into practice. You have to basically be in full protective equipment, basically not just the regular mask, but an N95 mask, full gown and gloves at all times while you're at work. So it's not very easy.
So the number, I think most of y'all now have seen how we're posting it, when we're showing the number who is recovered. We'll show the date reported, the age range, the sex, the city, hospitalized, contact tracing, and recovered. So the recovered, there have been questions on some of those that were on the report date, then all of a sudden they were listed as recovered, which may not be that time frame like you're talking about.
Yeah. The report date is the date that I get them and report them to you. The isolation time, the 10 days, is not from our report date. It's from, hey, I started having symptoms a week ago last Sunday. Well, great. You're just about to be able to come out of isolation because you've been negative. Those folks, thankfully, are few and far between, because that means that for the last, 8 days, they've been out without being quarantined or isolated, excuse me, because they'd have symptoms. But like I say, the report date that we're putting in is the report date that Judge Cunningham and I know about. So.
Does that make sense?
I think, Gilbert, you had listed a latest on social media on your website. I don't know how many there were, 8 or 10 or so showing on that. Was that right? So is that the most current that we have, or is there a new an update today? Or?
Yeah, we'll be up to, I believe we're up to 12 as of this morning.
Okay.
And again, total.
Have we done a press release to the media on any of this, or is that we're relying upon the social media?
We're doing social media
Only?
Yeah, it's changing a little bit daily, but it's changing enough that we can't do a press release every time something like that changes. It's not feasible.
Right. So assuming that people are on social media, they would know. If they're not, they won't.
Yes, sir.
What people?
Public.
Yeah.
I mean, the newspaper is picking up the social media, and they're publishing what we put out. So I guess in essence, aside from doing a formal press release, we are doing it. I think one of the important things to understand also is Dr. Franklin and I were notified about the contact tracing from the state, that the numbers and the numbers in general reported by the state is getting, well, I'll let you explain it.
So we all know, can you pull up the original one, the map, the county's map? This is Department of State Health Services website. If y'all haven't gone to it, they do a great job of doing this. Those are all of the cases that have been reported, and the low battery, that have been reported in the state of Texas. To get on that list, it has to have the case has to have gone through epidemiology. So in other words, they have to have not only had it reported to them by a doctor, but they have to have in hand the positive case report, and they have to have called the patient. So that state number there is going to lag behind the numbers I'm giving you by quite a bit. That's why I think ours is at 5 right now. 1
That's what the state shows.
What, one?
active cases. Okay,
Active.
yeah. So I think they only have us down for 5 total cases. I assure you, I have called epidemiology multiple times. They know about all of our cases. It just takes them a while to go through their vetting process so that they can put them on there. They're wanting to show only real numbers. So they have to go through their own process of making sure. And that's the reason for that lag time. Yeah, that's the other thing. So they have, I think we decided 28 epidemiologists, and they were running at full bore a week ago. They've gotten twice that caseload in the last week. So it's taken them, I mean, they're being overwhelmed. So that's yet another reason for our contact tracing here to let's do it locally, where we can hopefully have a little more bandwidth.
Dr. Franklin's contact tracing is actually, they're notifying the people and either quarantining or isolating them within 24 hours of being notified of a positive test, many times before the state has ever even contacted those people to do their notifications and contact tracing. So by being proactive as he is, we are actually helping to contain and mitigate the COVID in Llano County more aggressively than counties who don't have their own contact tracing.
And I'll give some really great thanks and kudos to Scott and White Hospital, Seton Hospital, and Clinical Pathology's labs. They have done an extraordinary job now of turnaround times on testing. There were people that we were calling this weekend that literally had been tested the evening before. So we were getting back results very quickly. So hopefully we are isolating them that much more quickly. We're getting in contact with their quarantinees that much more quickly, and we're preventing the spread, hopefully.
Dr. Franklin, you said there's 12 cases, but at least we know, at least you said at least 3 of them are recovered. So there's 9 active cases.
There are 12, there would be 8. 5 of them have now been recovered.
Oh, 5
Yes.
recovered.
But that
And
notifications.
again, realize when I say 5 recovered by me. I have
Thank you.
told the state about recovering the other 2, and by the look of the website, they have recovered 1 of the 2 that I told them should be recovered. So again, it's not their fault. It's just they have to go through a diligence, and they've got a lot to do right now.
And they're dealing with 254 Dr. Franklins.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you, Doctor, when you do contact tracing, you contact the individual. The questions I'm sure are you exhibiting any symptoms? Do you have them tested if they're not exhibiting symptoms, or only exhibiting symptoms?
So the
what do you
only
do?
reason we would do contact, 2 reasons you do contact tracing. One is you have a positive test in hand. That is by far the most common reason. So they've already been tested in most cases. I'm
I'm talking about the persons you've been in contact with.
So the person that you've then been in contact with, let me briefly go through it. So let's say someone has a positive test. Scott and White has been sending messages to myself and Dr. Madrigal. We get their medical record number, look them up, get as much information as we can, and then call them. We've been asked them how they're doing. First of all, do they have any needs? That's been our big one. We've had several people, they know they have to be in isolation for 14 days, but they don't have food. They don't have any medical supplies. They need medications. We've got a great group through Bobby that's been able to get that for them. We then go through all the people that they have seen, get phone numbers, addresses, et cetera, for each one of those individuals. And there's a formula to figure out where exactly what day forward you're wanting to get individuals. But regardless, we get those individuals, and then we call each one of the individuals and say, are you having symptoms? And if they are, do we get them tested? In most cases, yes. If you'd asked that question 3 weeks ago, in most cases, no. And the reason for the difference, 3 weeks ago, we didn't have the testing capacity we have now. Now, you need to be tested, you have symptoms, I kind of want to know. So we are doing a little more testing on that end. If they then come back positive, then this whole cycle starts over again. We get out a new form, go through all of their contacts, and we just keep increasing the circle until we've got all the contacts of all the individuals.
So if they're not exhibiting symptoms, what do you do then?
Then we just tell them they need to quarantine for 14 days from their last exposure to our index case. If they saw him Sunday, well, they're in quarantine until a week from this Sunday.
So if people are not showing symptoms, how do you get tested then? If you could you go be tested? I mean, what would you do?
You can if you're not having symptoms. So we've tested a few people that don't have symptoms. A lot of folks that are in the same household, they simply want to know. You know, I was, say, for instance, we know that, well, without giving you an actual case, because that's what's popping into my head. Let's say you come down with coronavirus, you've had symptoms, but Uncle Jim lives in the house with you. Uncle Jim has heart disease and he's 65 years old. We would probably want to test Uncle Jim even though he doesn't have symptoms just because we're worried about him. Is that available? Yes. Scott and White would do it. We do it at our office. We do it at Seton Hospital. Hill Country Memorial does testing as well. So
what I mean is a different kind of, are there a different kind of test, or is there a
3 different types of tests. There's the antibody test, which doesn't really tell you much about having illness right now. So that's kind of out. Then there is a rapid nasal swab that's being done by Scott and White, gives you an answer within an hour or so. They are, from what I understand, fairly limited on the reagents. So they're doing those mainly in folks that are either critically ill or have a, say, for instance, the uncle that's got heart disease. We really do want to know. They would probably do one on him. Other folks that are less urgent, they do the nasal swab, which takes about 24 hours to get back now. Let's say 24 hours, 24 hours to 5 days is what it is. It just depends upon how many people are there.
And Dr. Franklin, you said that when you were talking with Dr. Grimshaw, when you do a contact trace, was 8 the number of people usually that you span out from the positive case?
Our average, it's been about 8 contacts, yes. On average, we've had a couple that have been, you have 5 pages. And then you have a couple of people that, you know, it's just me and my wife, and we've been isolated since our son came to see us a week ago. By the way, he's tested positive. So those are a little bit easier.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, good.
Dr.
Sure.
Franklin, we're grateful to you for all you're doing. He's conducted probably 600-700 tests himself.
Yeah, we heard about 600. Yeah.
He's made. Yes, ma'am.
What about if you came in contact with someone that's supposed to be in quarantine? What do you do?
Contact my office. The problem is, how do you know they're still supposed to be in quarantine? Because we've had several of those calls from folks that are worried about somebody. We're a small town. Everybody knows everybody else's business, so they know who has what. The thing that we a lot of times don't know is when that person started having symptoms and how long they're supposed to be in isolation. And we had several calls. And the unfortunate part is call me and let me know, and I will look into it. I, however, because of privacy laws, I can't give you any information. I can't tell you, yes, Jim has it and shouldn't be out there. I can simply say, yes, I'll look into it. And I'm not trying to brush you off when I say that.
I just wondered, did you need to be in quarantine?
If you were exposed to somebody who is in quarantine, no. Now, again, definition of a quarantinee is someone that is asymptomatic. So they've never had a symptom of COVID. People who are exposed to a quarantinee are not required to be in isolation. So, for instance, I come down with it, not I come down with it, I get exposed to somebody on the job. I'm now in quarantine for 2 weeks. My wife and family, they are not in quarantine because they've only been exposed to me. Now, they need to be careful because if I develop symptoms, well, then they have to go into quarantine as well. And, you know, they've got that whole 2-day lag.
That goes directly back to the importance of wearing.
Yes, exactly. I'll stop. I can keep going for hours here, so please shut me up.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin.
Sure.
Drop down to agenda item 5, discussion action prohibiting restricting outdoor burning in Llano County. We have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any data, Gilbert?
Comments from the fire chiefs, they all say leave it on. And 7 out of the 9 have reported, so 1 rep from every precinct has reported leave it on. There is a Saharan dust cloud headed our way as well. Should arrive in the Gulf Coast Friday, Saturday, so those who have respiratory problems.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, or opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Agenda item 6, public hearings, discussion, approval of plats, replats, vacating of lots and lots. Commissioner Sandoval, you have 6A.
Thank you, sir. The public hearing is concerning a replat of lots 31 and 32, Bonnie Cove subdivision, Llano County subdivision, Llano County, Texas, as shown in volume 7, page 20 of the plat records of Llano County, Texas, to be known as lot 31A, Bonnie Cove subdivision, to be heard at the regular scheduled Commissioner Court meeting held on June 22nd.
This public hearing, is there any public comment? There is none. We'll close and go to agenda 6B. Commissioner Sandoval.
This is discussion and action concerning the replat of lots 31 and 32, Bonnie Cove subdivision of Llano County. Subdivision, Llano County, Texas, is shown in volume 7, page 20 of the plat records of Llano County, Texas, to be known as lot 31A, Bonnie Cove subdivision, to be heard at the regularly scheduled Llano County Commissioners Court meeting held on June 22nd, 2020. And Copeland Associates is here to represent the applicant. Yes.
I'm good. I'm gonna have one, we're gonna put it over in this corner.
Can I get one, sir?
Are there any structures on this?
There might not be anymore. Everything is already right there. Everything that's there right now, the owner is getting rid of, and it's the one that we have a variance on to put the new building there over the northeast side.
You have to refresh my memory on the variance.
So there's a variance, he was putting a manufactured home. It's gonna be on the lot. It's gonna
Okay,
be
okay,
over
okay.
the northeast.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, utility easement.
So these are clear lots now or will be shortly,
They,
I think, by
they
your notes.
might be clear now. I haven't looked yet, but he,
Right.
the owner gave us a letter saying that everything that's on it right now will be clear.
All right, so we're just combining two into one.
There was a note, there was a note in the packet that stated that there would be no structures on the lot when it started the construction for the new.
Any more questions?
Well, no more questions. I would make a motion that we approve the replat of lots 31 and 32 Bonnie Cove subdivision, Llano County subdivision, Llano County, Texas, as shown in volume 7, page 20 of the plat records of Llano County, Texas, to be known as Lot 31A Bonnie Cove subdivision, to be heard at the regular scheduled Llano County Commissioners Court meeting on June 22nd.
Got a motion, and second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 7, Commissioner Moss.
Now it's
No,
6C.
6C and D.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Unless you want to do agenda item 7, you're the boss.
It's a team effort. Let's go in order. 6C, Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, it's a public hearing. It's for a replat of lots 268, 269 Deer Haven, Section 3, recorded in Volume 1, page 24, the plat records of Llano County, Texas, to be known as Lot 268A, Deer Haven, Section 3.
Public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to make public comment? Being none, we'll close public hearing. Move to 6D.
6D is discussion and action to approve a replat of lots 268, 269 Deer Haven, Section 3, recorded in Volume 1, page 24, the plat records of Llano County, Texas, to be known as Lot 268A, Deer Haven, Section 3. Logan's here to be able to present that from Copeland. This is a combining of two lots. There is property on these, on the lot, and there is a plat note here with an encroachment into the setbacks, a minor encroachment. I think what you're handing out does not show the building, but I did provide, you've got that as well. Okay. You have a copy in your package. Yeah.
I can't hear you.
And a smaller copy with actual buildings on it.
Wait, I've got it on here. When was that building there? What is it? Is it a newer house?
I believe it was existing house. I don't believe that actually it's been there for a long time now.
But I think the issue here, we're going from half acres to 1 acre, which changes the setback from 5 foot to 10 foot. So it's, you know, it was in compliance before they go to a larger lot. How much is, do you know how much the encroachment is?
The one on top is, it's gonna be 7.4 from the building line, so it's 2.6 over. So it's about 2.5 feet.
2.5 feet.
Any further questions?
I'll save y'all with my comments. You know what they are.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion that we approve this replat of lots 268A and 269 Deer Haven, Section 3, recorded in Volume 1, page 24. The plat records of Llano County, Texas, to be known as Lot 268A, Deer Haven, Section 3.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Roski. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Now, Commissioner Moss,
Yes, sir.
agenda item 7.
Agenda item number 7 is discussion and action of unused tax note funds and possible action to use $171,373 to purchase a 320 TC excavator using additional available funds from the Road and Bridge Fund. Total amount $210,000 and $210,794.74 plus fees. This is and I don't know if you're aware of what an excavator is. And this is just on here to see if the court wants to do this. This isn't, there would be other things need to be improved. But Richard's here. The Road and Bridge has always used the track machines, track loaders. You know, we have one really old one. We have one that's broke down half the time. Then we have a pretty good one. But with the excavator, you can load faster. You can produce more material to load. And now that we're using these belly dumps to haul roads with, we run a pit out of gravel. Like we'll have a stockpile pushed up for material, and they'll have to shut down sometimes for a day or two to catch up. An excavator has worked so much faster, and I feel, and of course Richard's department, so I'm sure he has some comments. But anyhow, there was did get some prices off of a few different ones. I think that this is the best one myself. There's definitely others were cheaper, but I feel this is the best machine out of the 3 that we got prices on.
Is this a new machine or is it?
Yes, sir.
You want to comment, Richard?
Well, yeah, like Terry saying, it'll be very handy. Our track machines that we have to strip and push with, and granted gravel, we worry about the tractor, you get up $30,000. But you undercarriage on all the track.
And we have done that to some before.
So you don't have to do it on this equipment? You don't have to replace tracks?
Well, see, down here, it's got track, you just sit in one spot, it's just like a big old bag. All you got is bearings, that's all it's. Track aren't moving, just replace the machine in one spot and it's just fixed.
The excavator, it sets in the middle, and then it's got the long arm. It'll swing all the way around.
Is it what they're using out here on the river?
Yes, sir. It's what they're dredging the river with here.
So we've never had one of these before, have we?
We've never owned those. And it'll be very handy on some of these, slab projects, big projects. Got such a reach to get out, get hold of things, get out of the way. Long, deep holes.
The only thing I need to make the board aware of is the tax note funds. There are projects that haven't been done yet, like the document storage building. We haven't gotten any updated quotes on that. But it's for y'all's discussion. We budgeted 90,000. I haven't seen any specs or any recent updated costs on what that really is. Part of this money is left over from what we originally planned on spending on collection equipment. And the numbers came in less than we budgeted, so that's where some of that comes from. Plus our payoff on the vehicles. But we'll still don't know what the document is.
No, we're supposed to be getting information. It's just, everything came to a crawl with COVID. We haven't got it back yet.
Cindy, are you saying that, does this exhaust our tax notes, or is that exhaust that element for the road and bridge equipment in the tax notes?
We've already spent all we originally allocated for road and bridge equipment. This is moving excess funds from different items that we haven't spent or allocated yet to buy additional road and bridge equipment.
Okay.
I
But
have-
you still have reserve money for the document building.
Yes.
Once we get-
originally budgeted 90,000 for that, and that's still there.
Okay.
We just cannot go over that.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm in favor of this, but none of that money's coming from the $1.5 million that we put in for additional paving. Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, we have 3 pits that this machine can be transported to for use in each one. 5 pits, okay. Well, I missed it by 2. Okay, good. Well, just,
And our trailer, our equipment and trailer that we have now will haul it.
yeah, well, I'm in favor of it. I just was confused, I guess, that we were taking money from the paving project that we originally said was strictly for
No,
paving.
we're still good with that.
Okay, okay.
And so the additional $40,000 you have allocated somewhere in your budget, Ruth? Unallocated for this type of purpose?
But I did check, if there is some concerns about the building, what we originally talked about. If we did want to fund it over 3 years, the interest rates are about 2 to 2.25%. We wanted to buy this equipment over a 3-year period with one government account. And not do it with a tax note money, and just do a separate note. And then use the tax note money for the buildings. The numbers that I was told this morning, we're talking about additional 70 to 80,000 over what we originally budgeted.
For the building?
Yeah. But Ford hasn't seen any specs yet, so
I don't want to go finance anything. I know they're cheap, the rates are cheap right now, but I don't want to finance anything.
I'm just saying there's another option.
I mean, this piece of equipment, it would help there, I think would help the road and bridge operation a lot and really improve the speed but it's not something that you just absolutely have to continue work. Yes, it's going to make it a lot better, but if we have to borrow the money to do it, I don't want to do it.
Well, we don't know, I mean, if we had to borrow money, that may come to the document building. Once we get some specs and some actual quotes on that, right now, we don't know. But we do know the cost of this. Yeah, so there's no point. Yeah, there's no point borrowing money for something we don't even know what we're talking about. So.
Well, what I mean by that is if using this money from the tax notes is going to make us have to borrow money to build the building, that's what I'm talking about, Mr. Jones. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, but we don't know that.
I guess I have a question about the building. 90,000, as I recall, was supposed to be the good number. Now we're plus 60 or 70 more.
Nearly doubles. That's
How'd that happen?
Like I said, I haven't seen the specs. That's just
Let's-
the number I was given.
Let's stick with the agenda item for right now, please.
You gonna make a motion, Gary?
yeah. Go through.
I'm done.
I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 7.
A second.
Got a motion and a second by Commissioner Sandoval. Any further discussion? Being none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Agenda item 8, discussion action, approve amended BIS Consulting LLC agreement with GIS for the GIS 911 addressing for CAPCO CAECD interlocal agreement compliance. This has been an ongoing, I guess, project with CAPCOG. We've got Sterling here who is with BIS. He was going to, felt it would be beneficial for the court to hear what's going on, where we where we started, where we're at, where we need to go. So, Mr. Harris?
Good morning. I really appreciate y'all allowing us to come up here and present today. Alex Sanders, my manager, was supposed to be here today, but he was not able to make it. So, but anyway, we appreciate the time. BIS Consulting is a company that's been around about 10 years. Our big specialty across the state is we support appraisal districts, and we do their parcel mapping. We have Llano County and several counties around here that we do. Got some great, folks on staff that really know that business. I'm formerly with the General Land Office in Austin. I retired there in 2016. I was a GIS manager there. So I've been around this business for a long time. BIS is, like I said, we've wanted to start getting into the 911 mapping part of it. It's something that's coming down the pipe. Deanna Swindle came to me back in December, and we started talking about, the issues with the legacy 911 data that Llano has. And it, was going to need a lot of work. The other counties as well are in the same kind of boat. So that's when we started to work on this contract to see what we could do. You can go to the next slide. 911 is, like I said, they're going to the new next gen 911. It's from the old analog system to the internet API system. And what we're trying to do is convert this legacy data to where it will work in this new system. 911, the GIS part of it is huge. Now that everybody has cell phones, and with this system, you're able to route folks to where that person is located. So to the GIS component, having this data in the right format is going to make it work. It will not work in the way the system is currently doing. You can go to the next one. So what we've been looking at is the road center lines, the address points. We have emergency service boundaries in the county, and I'll show you a map here in just a little bit that represents that. But what we have to do is we have to select each one of these road center line components and match it with the address points, all the fields in the database for the address points and the road center lines have to match up. They have to be in the correct emergency, zone boundary. So a lot of cleanup. So that's what we've looked at. We looked at critical errors and significant errors, and it's what we really tried to focus on. There's a company called Geocom Data Hub that's been contracted for CapCog. So all the counties actually, on a monthly basis, we upload this data into that system. And what that system kicks out, it shows us all the errors that we need to fix. So, we've selected the high critical and the high significant errors, and that's what we've really been focusing on. You can go to the next one. So what you're looking at here, this is just kind of an estimate. Back in, this report shows from January to June. So you can look at where the total number of critical errors went from 5,000 to 3,000. And then from the significant errors, 11,000 to 7,000. And what that's doing is it's showing that we're having, we're getting it cleaned up. It's, it's coming along really well. It just takes time. You can get.
What do you mean by critical error? What is
Well, critical error would be a failure like a field that doesn't have, it's not populated at all. Maybe a parity field, a left-right parity field.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it's the right side of the road or the left side of the road. You have your address, your even numbers and odd numbers, and it has to have a field has to be populated to either say left or right parity. It's just simple stuff, but that's a critical error. One of the things you have in Llano County too is a bunch of driveways, and a lot of that data wasn't filled. There's no fields in it at all. So you have to take that and add fields to it. And there's a error code that you can drop in there that eliminates that error.
Tony,
But-
did you say that some of the roads may have the odd on one side, the even on the other, and then you go 2 roads over
Right.
and it's flip-flop?
That's right. You have to select that segment sometime and reverse it to make it work. And it's just time consuming to get those edits done. But once you get it done, it's there. And when you send it back through the system, those errors do not come up anymore.
Let me understand. So this is 911 addressing Deanna's dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
and so she would have difficulty with those errors identifying what address should be applied to a new property or
Right.
something. And also then this data is then provided to first responders and through our dispatch, so that they can identify exactly where this call is coming from
That's how it works.
to respond. Okay.
Well,
Deanna?
so,
Just for information purposes, each one of these address points that we have to assign has approximately 20 fields that have to be filled out. If our fields don't match the same way in both segments, or each segment of the road in town would be each block, that would throw an error. So all these 20 different things that have to be filled in, like he was discussing the parity of the road or the address or how the street is named, if they're not exact, they kick it out. That makes an error. So that tells you each segment of like 261 along the water, if it's not all labeled the same, or Highway 16 south or north, that creates an error. So that's the data that we're having to massage those to make it correct.
so I have a question. You assign the address on whatever street it is, whatever part of the county. Once you input that in and it transfers to you guys, and it's now dispatched to first responders, ambulance, police, whomever, even if there's not an address on the house or the driveway of the house, the data that goes into this new system puts them right there because it transmits into their computer or their phone or whatever. Is that right?
That's correct.
Because, we have half of precinct 3 doesn't have an address in front of it.
Right.
That's where the road center lines sets
Right.
up in digital ranges.
Right, I understand. I just wanted to be sure that due to the neglect and the lack of enforcement of having people
Right.
put their house numbers on the houses,
Right.
that we had them covered.
That's what's wonderful about the GIS data,
Good.
because you can put it right on that driveway where you go in
Right.
or on that structure. You
Right.
can put that address.
Perfect.
And with this new system too, I'll be showing you a map here in just a minute that'll actually run on your iPhone or iPad, or anybody can have it that has the addresses on it and the boundaries, all that information. That's something we were talking about doing, and I'd love to be able to offer the county as well, is that an online map that you could attach to your website if you wanted something like that. And we host, the mappings, like for the parcel map for the county, it'd be similar to that. But that's just another added value, of converting this legacy data into something that's very useful. That's what we're, that's what we're after. And I think
Is that app included in your work?
with that, we were gonna pitch that in for a year is what I really wanted to do. I just wanted to,
But that's not in this
That's not in there to add. Mhm. But in the future, that'd be something we'd like to see you have. If you want it, if it was useful to Deanna, you know, people call in, where's my address? Or, here's our address map. Where are you located? So you could use that map to help that process as well.
So you'll
It's just
propose something when you've done the cleanup.
Yes, once we get the cleanup done, and then we'd love to post that map out there. And I can send a link to the court members right now if y'all would like to look at it. Just check it out. Okay, I guess we can move on to the next slide. The phase 2 is what we're talking about right now. You know, we've made some good progress. CapCog is pleased with our work and showing that we're making good progress. They've sent emails out to the judge showing, that y'all are making good progress. So this is where we want to go now. We want to continue to do what we're doing. Submitting right now too as well. I don't think I mentioned that, but we've added the Llano County data is in our SQL database. And Deanna is able to edit and hit this database. So like myself or another technician, we're updating this data and it's in a backed up system. Where it will not be lost on somebody's PC. So that's
it's
one of the.
backed up to your system or to our own central server?
Well, it's backed up to our system, so you have a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's protected. And this is a great way to do it because Deanna and I would both be working on the data. We can actually share and see our updates on a daily basis. So this is a good thing to have. But the phase 2, that's exactly where we want to go. We just want to be able to keep doing what we're doing and really reduce those big numbers down. And I think if we could ever get caught up, that would be the goal, to get you caught up where, Deanna or another staff person could, focus and keep, making, just the routine updates of adding addresses in a new street or whatever. But right now, this is where we are. We're trying to catch you up.
Well,
And that's the same thing with Caldwell County. I've spoken with several of the counties in the CapCog region. They're in the same boat. A lot of times they'll have just one person, and then they're responsible for another job too in trying to keep up with this. So they're not making big progress unless they're going to hire somebody to get it done to that level. So.
And the way all this came about was, a year ago.
Yeah.
Was when we started having discussions with CapCog, and they specifically called out Caldwell, Blanco, Burnett, and Llano.
Yeah.
And Caldwell County's catching up a little bit, but every county that they called on has one person doing the job, and that's not their only job.
That's right.
And then you've got counties like Travis County who has a section or a department just for this. So that's the struggle we're facing right now. And we're more advanced in the process at this time than Burnett and Blanco is. I don't know where Caldwell is, but we have gotten kudos from CapCog for making as much progress as we have so far.
Right. Let's see, I guess go to the next. So right now let's bring up that little interactive map. If you can pop it up. This is actually your data. If you can see the green boundaries are basically your emergency service zones. As you zoom in, I think the total amount of streets is what, over 4,000? And then 16,000 address points. So
You're speaking countywide?
yes.
Okay, God, no, this is that one.
So when you zoom in, you can see that, all the address points, everything. So when these error messages come up, you have to select that segment of the street and see what the issue is. And usually when the error report comes from Geodata Hub, it shows you, okay, you're missing this field. And so that, it's a matter of selecting that street center line and making the correction. Or the same thing, it may be an address point that just says it shows that it's in Buchanan Dam instead of Kingsland. Just simple stuff to fix, but it's just very time consuming.
So on that map, when you were zooming it up, there were some red dots. Are those the ones that aren't fixed?
There's some that's some of the
The-
errors that's
Right.
showing up.
So
Mhm.
after it was corrected, then she corrects it, uploads it to you, and it goes away on the
Right.
map.
So each one of them, it just takes time to make these corrections, and that's what we're asking the court for today, is basically to go to the second phase of the project and continue to make edits to the data to get it where it needs to be.
Can I ask you, what was the first phase? What was the first phase? Because we've worked with
The
you
first
for-
phase of it was just to really get us through, December through through June. We were trying to put the hours in to get work on these critical areas. We selected that as the main one. There's other areas, as you saw those boundaries, like for the PSAP boundaries, all of those boundaries, we started working on that in December because there was a lot of errors in there. They were broken and lap overs on the polygons and stuff that we were trying to fix. So it took us time. We wanted to get some stuff like that done first, and then start working on the addresses in the road center lines and addressing that. So we wanted to make sure that we were making good progress, and we knew CapCog would see how far along we got with it. So, to me, that was the goal was to really knock some of that out and get those boundaries fixed, get all the street center lines and, get going the right direction. So,
Is CapCog providing any funding to assist in this?
yes, they are.
They provided 40,000 to supplement. Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, to supplement a person. And then when they came up with the new requirements because of Next Gen 911, the requirements were even higher than what they were before all this started. So the funding increased to 67,000.
And we've used that 67,000 in the first phase, or?
That's what we're working at.
The net cost this year, in years past, whatever we received from Capcom was offset, we offset it with the expense of the salary for the 911 person. So in our minds, it was a wash. We got from Capcom, paid for the salary. Well, because of this contract and additional funds, our net cost now, regardless of, we're not going to fully be able to pay for the person's salary, but the net cost of the county is going to be about $7,400. Over and above what the revenue is from Capcom.
So this contract, which is 6 months at $19,200, CapCog would be paying some of that with the funds coming in. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Okay. So
Well,
our
our net
net,
our net effect to our budget is going to be about an expense of $7,500.
It's
So
going to
rather
cover
than
all
being
bucks.
offset, it's going to be a net expense of about $7,500 in this fiscal year.
Do we have money like in professional services and stuff?
I don't see how we cannot do it because one mistake, one death, one ambulance not getting there, and we have to do it. So if there's no discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve it. We approve the BIS consulting agreement. GS 911 addressing for CapCog's CACD interlocal agreement compliance.
I'll second.
But a motion and a
I have a
second.
question regarding, the contract is 6 months, $3,200 a month. Are you confident that the errors, et cetera, can be corrected within that period?
I would say we'd be really just looking at where we are now, you know, from January to here, I think we're going to make rapid progress. I think we're going to be really close to getting all the critical errors done. I really think we can do it.
But I would put a caveat on that because CapCog has been working with us pretty steadily, but a lot of that progress slowed drastically down when CapCog started working remote. And so the communication slowed down, and I'm not saying that it stopped, but the progress was slowed drastically between us having the problems that we experienced with COVID-19 and the problems that CapCog experienced.
Yeah.
So there could be mitigating issues that do not help us make the progress that we would like. But I commend BIS and Deanna both for doing all that they've done, because it's had some challenges.
You bet. Well, one of the issues they had too, one of the companies called Entrata was another system that basically would filter your data through, and it would, so that system was broken in January. They could not get it going. So Geocom Data Hub, that company, took over all, you know, all the data, all our edits were going through that system. So I think they're going to stick with that group. And I don't think they're going to work with Entrata, but it's progressing a little bit better. But like you said, the judge said it's, you know, with this COVID-19, it's really affected a lot of people's work, you know, but that's some of the things that I kind of threw the red flag up toward CapCog. It's like, hey, this Geocom Data Hub, let us make our submissions more often than once a month too. You know, so we're, you know, I'd like to hustle them up to, you know, to let us get a feedback from our edits a little bit quicker than where it is right
Do you
now.
have any restrictions, you know, other than doing it internally within your own company, restrictions in being able to move forward at a fairly good pace on this?
No, sir. I think we will be able to take care of it. We're going to focus on it. I'm personally going to work on it as myself. I'm hoping and to get some other help too. So.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Sterling.
Okay, thank you. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item 9, approval of resolution recognizing July as First Responders Month in Llano County. I think all of you have a copy of the resolution. I guess I can go through and read the resolution. Is that what we need done at this time? You want to read it, J-Don?
I'll read it. It's not that long.
Go ahead.
All right, the resolution states that Llano County, in partnership with the Hill Country 100 Club, would like to recognize all the brave men and women in Llano County that serve our community as first responders. To commemorate the occasion, the Commissioners Court declares the month of July as First Responders Month in Llano County. During this month, the court encourages our citizens to be involved in these ways. Take time to thank all those full-time and volunteer first responders that you come in contact with for the great service they provide to our community. Take time to get to know a first responder and let them know they deserve special recognition. Make their job easier by making sure your house numbers is highly visible and the entry to your fence or gate. If you live out of town, make sure that you have your gate or lock code generally provided easy access to your property. Be aware if you see suspicious activity or potential danger, you can increase the reach of our first responders by keeping them informed. And join organizations like the Hill Country 100 Club, whose goal is to support first responders to providing financial support for their families if they are killed or injured in the line of duty. Provide recognition for them to their annual banquet and support those who want a future as a first responder through their scholarship program. This month is Llano County's ongoing show of appreciation for our first responders. These unsung heroes are vital to a healthy and safe hill country environment. Join us in showing our first responders that they make a difference. That is, it's going to be signed today, the 22nd of June.
I'll move to approve a resolution recognizing July as first responders month.
I'll
A
second.
motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes. Motion carries. Agenda item 10, review approval for bond with Western Surety Company, Dwayne Young, County Sheriff's Office.
I'll make a motion to approve the bond for Dwayne Young, who lives in precinct 3.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 11, Commissioner Jones.
This is a continuation of our effort on the subdivision regulations to present a piece of the next, parts of what we've reviewed. These are on the appendixes of the subdivision regulation. Appendix A is as you see, is a definition appendix. Appendix B is a road standards appendix, and then Appendix G is simply the county contact information. Matt, you want to comment on that?
We'll start with the easiest one. It's Appendix G, County Contacts. This simply lists all the contacts, county judge, precinct commissioners, developmental services, county surveyor, road and bridge, and the county clerk. Appendix B is the summary of our Llano County road standards. We've reviewed this with Richard Wooten, and these are just necessary items for guidance to developers when they're submitting subdivision plans to the court for approval. All right, Richard has one comment. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, on the lower standard, it was 25 miles an hour for a 20-foot wide road, which we have a 20-foot wide road. County speed limit is basically 35. So I suggested we put a 25 to 35, depending on the area and whatever the commission court wants to allow.
I have no comment, no objection to it. I think depending on the type of subdivision, you may have a developer that wants to make something a little more restricted, so that gives them the room. Otherwise, you may have a developer that has larger lots and
They're constantly going 35 to 25.
so we can make that change if there's no.
Just clarify again what you said on the, you're talking about local streets at 25 now, or?
Yes, on that it's 25, which, like I said, we have many local streets that are speed limit 35. So
Majority of them are.
not restricted to just 25 miles an hour.
Okay, but, and of course that would require a commissioner's court agreement in regards to the speed limit in that particular subdivision or that local street. Okay.
So on local street, we'll adjust that to make design speed in that very first column, 25 to 35 miles per hour. And then Appendix A are the definitions, and as you can see, there's a good 3 pages of those, and those are simply the definitions that came to us through our involvement as a committee and working with Mr. Bass.
Matt, Christie, the N and O, which is plat, you were talking about maybe consolidating that. Is there?
What did you say?
On page 2, item N, item O, which is
It's on the screen.
both listed as plat.
Right.
Did you want to
We can add, we
Combine-
can combine
combine or
those.
not? I mean, there's a reason, the reason we do it separately is so that it clarifies the definition some. Is that what you wanted to do?
Right, we can just, there are many different definitions of plat that could apply to the particular situation that we're dealing with. Obviously, the plat in general does refer to a map drawing or chart, but it also could be, in terms of subdivision regulations, the actual item that the court is taking up for review.
So you're gonna combine it?
So we'll just combine those. So like definition 1, definition 2.
Okay. And this is for discussion only, so it's just a continuation of our effort to move forward to a final document someday.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think y'all are making great progress. So agenda item 11 was discussion only. Agenda item 12, discussion action. Establish public purpose for the expense of the Llano Memorial Bridge signs to be erected on Highway 2900 Bridge over the Llano River in Llano County, and approved agreement between Llano County and Texas Department of Transportation agreement for erection and maintenance of signs. The agreement for the bridge is with TxDOT, and it requires a $5,000 payment before TxDOT will approve and erect the signs. And so we have to have, Cindy, do you want to touch on that?
It's not budgeted. So we have to move probably from unallocated into building maintenance or somewhere.
Well, I think that TxDOT's gonna stop putting up a lot of signs, even signs that go on our county roads and things like that.
Already stopped.
So it doesn't surprise me that they won't pay for it.
No.
We did ask the state to name that bridge. Yeah, so if we have this somewhere, I think we should do it.
Just
We've already committed.
Me too.
my first impression is that $5,000 for 2 signs seems very expensive. And I'm not sure what these signs are made of or how they're going to be supported or all the structure that goes into it. But, $5,000 for two signs is a lot of money.
It is, but I think that's probably their standard fee on what it's going to cost.
Have we been able to negotiate with TxDOT on this at all?
You've seen those signs before. They're brown. Usually they're brown. And they have the TxDOT as the people who engineer them and install them and maintain them.
They're metal.
And they're aluminum signs, big ones that say whatever it is, just name it. as it is. So,
For $5,000 for a sign? I mean, you want to comment, Richard? You do all signs all the time.
Yeah, that's what state has a rate.
mhm.
I guess, signs themselves would call for it. Signs and posts.
Right. What do you mean a break? So if somebody hits the sign, it
Break
would
the-
break, it wouldn't be as critical to,
Those 3 posts, that way somebody hits the sign and lay over it.
Yeah.
Back.
But have we had conversation with TxDOT about price? You have?
Yeah, that's the price.
That's it, take it or leave it? Well, that's
It's-
pretty excessive.
This is coming from someone that replaces the guardrails every other month.
Yeah. They're the Goliath in this negotiation. My concern is that the court committed to doing this.
I agree.
I have another comment, and that is, the wording here is an error. On the first whereas, actually, the start off, it says Texas Department of Transportation, hereinafter called the state. But in the first whereas, it says, that a local government may purchase and furnish to the department, and it goes on to talk about the department and the department, and then further on, past that, it talks about the state. So they're referenced themselves as the state, but they've stated in the first whereas that they're the department. So there's, I'd say, easy fix, you know, but it's not accurate. You see what I mean?
Ma'am?
I was just thinking the Department of Public Textile, but the state is the state of Texas.
Well, it says up front that the Texas Department of Transportation hereinafter called the state, but then they refer to themselves as the department in the first whereas, and in the rest of the document, they refer to themselves as the state. So, small point, but, you know, just making it.
Well, they wrote the contract, so time you get that contract changed, it might be this time next year.
How are we going to pay for this again?
I have to move money from unallocated to.
Unallocated. Is there, couldn't our road and bridge director sign?
No,
Yeah, not on the state right away. That's the kicker in this.
I'm with you, Mr. Jones. I agree 100%. I'm trying to keep my mouth shut though. I don't even have anything good to say about it, but I think that we need to do it. They're not going to do it. Don't you think, Judge?
Yeah. But if we don't agree to it, then they haven't made the signs yet. They'll put it in a file and they'll sit there indefinitely.
I guess I am saying bad things about the state, but they did build that bridge in record time.
yes, they did.
So for us to contribute 5,000 for signs isn't the end of the world, you know.
Well, that's true. I think the bridge was 17 million and the cleanup was another 10 million underneath in the water.
Yeah.
And I
So
think,
that's a lot of money
I
spent.
think they restarted the cleanup too. I saw the barges working down on the Llano below the bridge.
Well, I'll make a motion to establish the public purpose for the expense of the inland memorial bridge signs to be erected on Highway 2900 bridge over the Llano River in Llano County, and approve the agreement between Llano County and Texas Department of Transportation agreement for erection and maintenance of signs.
I'll second.
Not to exceed $5,000. We can put in.
I'll second.
We'll just have that on the next agenda.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
I'm going to abstain on this one.
Mr. Jones abstains. Motion carries. Agenda item 13, Llano County Local Health Authority to enter into an agreement of compensation for services as a local health authority. I don't know
Better
if you
hurry
all have
before it
seen
goes
the-
up.
The agreement, I'm sorry?
I said we better hurry before it goes up.
He's done a fantastic job, y'all. I mean, we were up at his office working yesterday for about 3 hours trying to keep up with everything that was coming in. And like we've mentioned in the past, when the counties have established a local health authority in the past, it was for usually to talk about quarantining because of bats or rabid dogs or coons or skunks or coyotes or something like that. And I don't know the amount of hours that if he's keeping actual tabs on it, but he and Dr. Madrigal over in Burnett County and the other local health authorities in the Hill Country have been doing a fantastic job, and it's consuming a great deal of not only their time, but their office staff time as well.
This cost comes under the COVID cost for the county.
We did
The-
a true budget amendment last week, and we put $30,000 in that line item that would cover this contract.
Right. And then, but we have received funds.
Right, but we
From-
haven't established a budget for that yet to reimburse ourselves, but the money's sitting in our budget right now to take care of this.
Okay, so potentially we could be reimbursed through those funds from the state of it.
You know, there's one thing that I definitely think that my opinion has changed from earlier when this was on the agenda. But if I have coronavirus and he takes care of me or whatever, my insurance doesn't pay for that. Because that's the only thing, like in this, on the, whatever, the third or fourth whereas there, or the last whereas, it said services include the administering of medical care to persons infected by the COVID-19 virus without compensation. I mean, some of that's.
He does not accept insurance.
Oh,
So
that's right.
And then that's one of the
That's right.
things. The other thing is the indigent health. He's doing a lot of that through the indigent health as well. And a lot of it is going through the state now, but like the majority of the scheduling, the testing and everything. And I'll give you a good example, the nursing homes and the assisted living facilities. You know, he took his staff out there and that's how they knocked it out in 5 days of testing 445 people.
Well, and I know there's like doing that, and there's doing the background, or not the background, what's it called when you check the what?
The tracing.
Yes, all the tracing. But, okay.
But that's separate from this. His request verbally here today was to have us think about considering more money for more contact tracing people.
Well, the reason is because the numbers are going up.
I understand, but
Exponentially, yeah.
he still has that request working irrespective of this one. It's pretty cheap work, $3,500 a month, have a doctor working full time for you.
I took that as this thing. I didn't know he was talking. I didn't think he was talking more.
Cindy, how much did we get on this COVID prepayment?
No, remember when 157.
157,000 as an advance payment?
I liked your first number.
Okay, so once
that's
we
what
do
we thought.
budget, once we do reconciliation and so on, much of these costs can be allocated.
And even if they're not, we can't expect him to do this for free.
No.
I mean, like you said, at first, he wasn't really having to do a whole lot, give reports. But
So do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to provide Llano County and Llano County Local Health Authority to enter into an agreement of compensation for services as a local health authority.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Got agenda item 14. No need to go to executive closed session. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's commission report. Thanks, everybody.
Say again. Good.
Marcy, how do you want to get everybody to sign stuff? If we have them remain seated, can we get stuff and just walk? Okay.
Okay.